No, no, I'm actually in Toronto.
You're in Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was unsure where you guys were too. I was talking to Michael, punching pastor,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah, yeah,
"Yo,
yeah.
where are you?" I was hoping that he was nearby, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm in Ottawa." I was like, "Ah, man."
Bro, I don't know, for some odd reason I felt you were in the States, man. Like, oh man.
Some people think that. A lot of people think that because I don't like where I walk around doesn't look usual, and like usually
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about Canada per se. So
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
a lot of people will think I'm like either in New York or like somewhere like metropolitan. Some people think I'm in California sometimes.
Yeah.
Except when I get
Yeah, I
two
don't know
feet
for
of snow, then they know I'm not in California.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Awesome,
man.
bro.
But yo,
Yeah.
it's great to meet you, man.
Great to
Yeah.
meet you too.
How have you been?
Been doing good, ups and downs as usual, but like, we are bred for this, so it's not an issue, it's just the courage to face it. That's all. That's the way
True.
I see it. You know what I mean?
True.
How about you? How have you been? What's
Yeah,
going on?
same. Ups and downs, just dealing with life and the slow changes that come about, like right now I'm in transition from position to position in terms of like what I'm doing in terms of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but weird enough, like you pray for one thing and all of a sudden things start to pop up. So like it's weird the way
Exactly.
it's weird the way it works. But yeah, all of a sudden now I got these job offers coming in, and I'm thinking of which one to take. I'm trying to make sure that whatever I take is kind of in line with the coaching that I want to do. So if it expands those
Perfect.
skills, if it expands that, then that's something I want to move towards. If I can grow, then I want to move towards it. Oh, sorry,
And
sorry, say that again. Your audio went out. Oh, your audio went out again. Oh, maybe it's your headphones or what? Now you're
let me
back.
see. Okay, good.
Okay, my bad.
I'm good now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. What were we saying?
Bring a Haitian to the podcast and he start messing things up. Okay. I love my people. What am I talking about? So no, I just said that's awesome, man. That's really good. So when did you start the coaching? Like, what got you to it?
Oh, man, I've always been somebody who is willing to like talk to a friend and give them as much energy as possible, try and help them through whatever dark time they're going through and I've always been that person to sit down with somebody, talk with them, even if it's somebody I don't even like. I was willing to do it. So slowly, yeah, I started, and I've always been about personal development. Like at my biggest, I was 350 pounds. I learned how to lose the weight. And then from
Mm,
there, my focus on personal development, it began in fitness. And then slowly, as I got older, it started going towards the mind and wanting to improve my mind and learn more things. And then slowly, it was just like person after person into my like late 20s. Person after person would be like, "Yo, why aren't you a coach?" And you have a good presence, and you should be doing speaking and this and that. And finally, I actually met a coach, and he was just like, "Yo," he's like, "You need to." He's like, "You should be stepping into this arena." And it just made the most sense with what my skills are, what I'm good at. It just made the most sense to actually try it. And then again, we talk about the Lord. I literally prayed. I was like, I really
yeah.
want to try coaching. And then all of a sudden, somebody messaged me and they're like, "Yo, I need to be coached." And and I did that, and I got a couple more clients, and I've just been doing that for the past year and a half now.
Nice.
Yeah, and it just
And you're doing that full time, man. Because I like your videos, man. They're pretty on point, and like a couple of them, I find that even though they're very faith driven, the way you approach things. That's pretty. I realized that too in a couple of videos I watched. They're very good. Like, yeah, this is your skills. Like, it's undeniable.
thank you. That's a good word. That's what I'm trying to become. Definitely. It's
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just yeah, I've been doing it full time, and right now, like the that's it's not that it's slowing down, but like me and my wife are at a point where we want to start having kids, and I
Mm-hmm.
would love it if I could get to a point where, she's staying home with the kids, and that natural nuclear family, where
Yes.
the wife is doing her thing at home, and I'm out bringing home the bacon, so to speak. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So now it's like I want to do the coaching, and I want to take something else on because I need these streams of income coming in. So yeah,
Nice. That's
that
awesome.
that's why it's a growing situation. It's like something we both never dealt with
Yeah.
before. So
Nice. That's awesome, man.
how
That's
about
good.
how about you, man? What's going on with you? Like I see that you guys have this business going on. You and Michael.
So, yeah, so Michael, Pastor Michael is the punching pastor. Shout out to him. He's a great guy. I met him at again at a time where when God puts some people in your life, it's just really the way it happens is just insane. Because I was pretty burnt out. I've been doing all the network marketings and like all the um, trying different businesses and like teaching in certain places, but mostly what I find as a Christian, a man of God, is like there are certain values you can't find in some places, and the money you're making conflicts with your moral values sometimes. And I realized that, um, yeah, you could be making all the money in the world, but you're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna feel at ease. Not even a thing of happiness, but it's like the feeling of being at ease. Sometimes when you're doing your work,
Mm,
you see the joy in your clients, but the environment itself can be not necessarily, and the best part of it is not necessarily toxic. You just don't fit in. It doesn't even have to be bad, but it's not right for you, right? So I remember one girl who does Muay Thai with me. I have a good solid Muay Thai background, and then she told me like, yo, you should come check out this church. Like, you know the punching pastor, and I'm like, no. And I check and I'm like, oh, he's pretty cool. Like, I mean, he has a church. And I sent him a message. And Mike, as a kind guy, he called me. He texted me. He's like, yeah, this is what time we meet at, blah, blah, blah. And when I first met him, it was almost like, love at first sight. It's just like when you connect with the guy so much. He introduced me to another gentleman from the church. To that time, I visited his church where the gentleman was like a guy who actually I knew from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu from the place where I trained Muay Thai. That guy at one point was the instructor there, so I reconnected with him, and then it was again, it just like everything just aligned. And then he's telling me about how he approaches his teaching, how, and then he has certain challenges, so he cannot be consistent. And I visited the school a couple of times, and then at one point he asked me if I could replace him to teach a class. I'm like, well, thank you, but I'll do it. And I did it. The people liked it because I do. Again, I try to. I don't. I'm not saying I'm perfect and never will be, but like whatever I do, if I know how to do it well, I will perform it well. So I have to. It's how I can bring Christ to my craft is by doing it at a point of excellence.
mm,
So it's just like so I take my time, even if I wasn't in my if I'm in a fitness club, not a combat club at all, and I'm teaching a boxing class in that fitness club. I'm not gonna tell you to just throw your hands to throw a punch. I'm gonna teach you how to properly do it. Yes, I'm not gonna build a class like I'm building a class for fighters, but at least whatever you're executing, you got to do it right. So I think people always like love that wherever I go. So when I was teaching these guys, giving them a few drills, Pastor Mike is like, "Yo, can you do a couple of more?" And then it happened like this. And then after that, I sat down with him and Jamie, another brother. He started the Creed martial art with Jamie, and he told me, "Hey man, we can do a three-way partnership. You really, people love your teaching." And then we started. So they started it, and I joined them in the partnership. And then from then, we've been building a solid team. It's slow for the summer, of course. Summertime everybody's traveling, but that's how we got connected. And then through faith, we have some great conversation. So that's the environment that I wanted. So that's how we got there, man.
wow.
And I've been doing that because my heart is to serve the community, and I want to do it not only my community, but I want to go worldwide. So this is why I'm reaching people through my clothing company, Flexi Swag, and it's to me. That's my mission. You're coaching, like, and I can tell, like, from the videos I've seen, you know what you're doing, and also you put your heart into it, and that's what we need. Because, like, I'm at the service of humanity, so whatever it's there to be done, I'm gonna get it done. And then as I always say, at the end of the day, I want to hear these little words, "Well done, my faithful servant." Like, I want to hear that at the end of my time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, that's how it always happens, right? Like I was listening to a
Yeah.
podcast, I think it was like Dave Chappelle, he was talking about, he's like the greatest things that happen to people are usually the things that they're just like, "Ah, I guess I'll try it. Yeah, sure, why not?" You
So
know?
true.
And then
Yeah,
all of a
it's
sudden
so
it
true.
it just turns into this whole thing where now all of a sudden you're in a partnership, and I love hearing that,
Yeah.
man. I love hearing that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm
It's
still
yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
I
brother.
was saying I was gonna say I'm still waiting on something like that to pop up. I've been praying for the right people to be around me, and to have some people who are very like-minded. I've been asking
Yeah,
for more of those people around me, and it's happening slowly. You just got to be diligent with your sight.
absolutely. That's one thing I actually prayed about, and I can see, and this thing is always gonna be a constant happenstance, because every time you grow, different people will fit where you at, right? Every time you grow. So it's not that, yeah, there are some people who are gonna stick with you forever, and like you need those, and probably toward your whole life, probably is gonna be at the most, if you're lucky, 10 of them. But when I'm calling about the closeness of a friendship or brotherhood, whatever it can be. But every time you grow, there are gonna be different people for different levels,
Yeah,
and that's why I have to be very diligent with what I'm meeting, nourishing these relationships. Like, it's not when I need something, I'm gonna call someone. Hey, how are you doing today? Anything I can pray for you for? Anything like that? All right, man. Don't need anything. Good to hear from you. Bye, and that's
yeah,
it. Sometimes people just need that to boost them for their day, for their night, to sleep well, right?
yeah,
So yeah, I'm at the same phase too, where I'm always looking for, not looking, but always praying, like, for the right people to come through.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
at this age we're at, we cannot be messing around with any buffoons. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%, 100%. So, yeah, that's great to hear that you guys got into it like that. I have a brother, he's actually a Muay Thai coach himself out here in Ontario. He's been doing it for, I want to say, at least 15 years. At least 15 years he's been
Nice.
at it.
What's his name?
Andrew Cummings.
Andrew Cummings. I know that name, bro.
Yeah, yeah, probably. He's fought. He's definitely fought, and he's been training. He
Andrew.
trains with Crew Fresh. That's who he trains.
Yeah, yeah. I know Andrew. I know the name. Yeah, he's old school too. Him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's old.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's funny you
Yeah.
say that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
He's old school.
Him and Crew Fresh are they're beasts. They don't play around. They trained a gentleman. I don't want to mess up his last name. It starts with an M, but his first name's Thomas. And the guy's been like national champion, I think two times, maybe three times.
Oh man.
He's
It's such a beautiful community. Like, I love the Muay Thai community. This Saturday, I'm heading to Montreal because this guy in Montreal, forgot the name of his school, Monkey MMA, martial art Monkey MMA, something like that. But like, our team is going, got a couple of fighters in his like show at his school, and I'm gonna go support some of our guys.
true.
It's a beautiful community, brother.
Yeah,
Beautiful
man.
community.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's something else. But yeah, he's been in it, and every time, like the link I sent you when I was interviewing that guy Rob, like I notice every time I meet somebody who has the Muay Thai background, and I was actually bringing this up to him too, and this has to do with also the podcast that you watched about the spiritual coach, my friend Joel. It's
Mm-hmm.
like my buddy Rob, he's heavy into Muay Thai and martial arts. And Joel is heavy into spirituality. He's been a follower, his parents, everything since the time he was small. And it's crazy the similar values that they have based on the amount of discipline you need in both of those
Discipline,
things.
exactly.
It's nuts how similar they are, but completely like Rob is just not it's not that he's like he's just I guess you would say agnostic, you'd say like he doesn't have a religion, he doesn't go to any church or anything like that, but he's looked into religions, but both of them have such similar values. Like both of them at the same time they both told me they're like, yeah, I like to do 6 day fasts, you know, and my
Mm-hmm.
buddy Joel, he's doing it for religious reasons, you know, for that connection with God. And my other buddy, who's not trying to connect with God, he's just doing it for the sake of discipline. It's funny how
Yeah.
discipline links you up in those ways. It's very interesting, man. I found that.
It's almost like their coalition, and then that ends up being like, that's when also you can realize that you can communicate and interact with somebody. Doesn't have to have the same belief, but like we can actually fight for the right cause, even
Yeah,
though our belief is not the same, right? Like it's, to me, that's the beauty of it. Because I've had like, discussion with atheists, with people who are just wilding out there and whatever. But at the end of the day, there's a commonality we can have, where, yeah, I don't have to agree with everything, but there's certain place where we can meet, and that place, we can nourish that.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, that's great to hear what you guys have done together, and I can't wait to see more.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to sit down with Michael. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm gonna be sitting down with him too soon as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he seems like a great
He's
guy.
he's awesome. Yeah, you're gonna, and you have a wonderful story, because like he's anyway, I'll let you talk to him about
True,
it, but
true, true.
he has a wonderful, wonderful story where, he has to constantly be on his toes. Like, it's gonna be a beautiful conversation for sure.
Oh
Her
man.
strong, strong man, and yeah. Anyway, I can talk about him like a lot. Like, he's awesome, man. He's
True,
awesome. Yeah,
true,
yeah,
true.
yeah.
And it's fun. Just a last point before I get to the questions. I always have, like I tell people all the time, and people who are believers usually it strikes a chord with them, but like throughout every stage of my life, whenever I'm going through a growth period or a change period, there's always somebody named Michael that pops into my life. Like when I was
Hey,
growing up, it was a
hey,
cousin.
man.
When I was in the
Nice.
streets, there was another guy named Michael. When I was like wilding out and I wasn't for anything but myself, there was a
Yeah.
Michael who guided me through that. When I wanted to get out of the streets, my good friend Michael helped me get out of the streets and learn how to work on computers and stuff. And it's like there's
Wow.
always a Michael and I've always, even when I wasn't a believer, I always believed in Archangel Michael. So it's just
Mm.
funny. It's funny how there's always a Michael that pops up. And my middle
So
name's
the
Michael.
That's amazing,
And my da- and
bro.
my and my dad's middle name's Michael, and his father's middle name's Michael.
So the guardian angel you connected with, is the one that, so the guardian angel, like, you connected with, or the archangel, I should say, sorry, or you connected with the most, even as a kid, even before you were calling yourself a believer. It's funny to see that at the same name of that archangel is the name that God used to bring people to a level of elevation whenever you're growing, right? So that's a spiritual. It feels like a spirit. I'm not the type of guy like God all the time, which is, I know God is in everything, but I'm not an overly religious to jump into religion
Me too.
for about everything. But that being said, we cannot deny certain spiritual aspect of our journey, and to me,
Yeah.
that feels like a spiritual process at times.
Yeah, it's something, man. It's something. I always notice
It
that.
is something. It is something, right?
Man.
I cannot clearly say it is or it is not, but it feels like it is.
Yeah, right. But here, let me get this thing. Oh, yeah, there you go. So first question,
Yeah.
what was the time where you felt the most not like a man?
Um, when I am not able to provide or take care for myself,
Mm,
you know, and also when I cannot lead my household.
mm,
So these are times where, you don't feel right, and then mostly when people are pointing fingers, and then saying that, pointing at these things to judge you, or to make you feel like that situation right there is actually who you are, it's your character, that actually can bring a
mm,
man down, right? So to me, um it put me in a situation where, sometimes it's not the greatest to be always in this defensive. And by being defensive, what that means, like, I always try to get myself ahead, no matter what
Mm,
it is. So like this, I don't want to hear these things ever again. But
mm,
at the same time, I'm doing it for the wrong reason. Well, I was doing it for the wrong reason. Doing it for as a defense mechanism, but instead of doing it for doing it for the right thing, right? You know what I mean?
true, true.
So there are times that and us men, we don't talk enough. So when we don't talk like that, we internalize stuff, and then sometimes no time you blow up, no time you get frustrated, you get depressed, you get in a state where now it turns into a destructive spiral. And
Yes,
these
yes.
are the times where I'm like, you know what, I had to really fight through these feelings, or communicate at times. When I'm down, I don't want to hear that I'm doing wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm.
When I'm down, like I don't want, because I know I am not doing right
Mm.
now. You know, let me find my solution, or let's find a solution instead of reminding me of all the wrongs I'm doing,
Yes,
because that can really mess up with a man's mind, right?
very true. Very true. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I just gotta put this thing in
Hey,
here.
it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, man, that's a big thing. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Not wanting to hear that. I'm very much like that. My my mom, because like you're talking about like people being old school. My mom, she's very old school. So if I'm messing up, she'll be like, "Well, you're messing up here and there." I'll be okay, okay, all right. Like when I was at home, I would get so agitated with that. But at the same time, it was like, now I'm living outside the house. Obviously I'm married, I'm with my wife and
Yeah.
everything. But you realize how valuable it is to have a friend like that who's willing
Yes, it
to
is.
be like,
It
yo,
is.
you're messing up here, here, and here,
Yeah.
and to just say it to you point blank. It's super important to have, you know?
So the thing is, I don't mind that part. The part that I mind is not. I don't mind the part that says, hey man, you're messing up. You're messing up. Here's the part I mind. You're such a mess up,
Mm. True, true, true.
right? I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't mind that you're messing up. If you should fix this. I mind that, hey, you're a mess up. You're nothing. You are. This is who you are. That's the
yeah.
part I can say, right?
True, true. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The person who's making your
It,
circumstance who you are.
yeah. It turns it into your identity.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? And that's also something that I find, the whole blame, the whole pointing fingers is biblical. It's something that happened in the Bible from the first sin that has ever been created.
Mm,
So when you realize that when Adam sinned, right? When Eve sinned, and he came to Adam and said, like, okay, you know what, this is what the serpent said, blah blah blah. Paraphrasing here, Adam ate the fruit of knowledge of good and evil,
hmm.
and then when God came, he's like, hey, I'm trying to look for you. Where are you? He's like, you know what? We were naked. I don't know. We were naked. I didn't want you to see us because we're ashamed. And God said, who told you you were naked?
Mm,
Did you eat from the tree? And God said, and you know what Adam said? Adam said, the woman you gave me offered this thing for me to me. And then, but a few scriptures before, you know what? How we saw Eve, flesh of my flesh and bone of my bones. Few scriptures later, hey, that woman you gave me, man, that's this. She messed up. She gave me the stuff, right? So, so when you
true.
are in trouble, when there's a level, like the whole blame thing, like that's that to me, that's where it started. And I'm like,
Mm,
wow, you so when you're ashamed, you try to point fingers at everything else around you. And to me, it's like, yo, when I see people do that, I'm like, I'm not gonna point them. I'm like, hey man, you acting like the sinners on the Bible. I don't try to do that, but I'm like, I have I have acknowledged, that I have to be more patient and wise to deal with people. And sometimes, the way they interact with you, they don't even know they're doing it wrong. Maybe it's a time for us to educate them on how to treat us too, right? So
True.
again, yeah, I could go on and on about this stuff, man. Like I love this.
That's so. I didn't even know that's how he responded in that scripture. I had no
Yeah.
idea actually.
The Book of Genesis, bro. Like this, one of the one of my favorite ones. So yeah,
But
it's like
that's
really.
that's how people do it, right? Like the woman the woman
Yeah,
you sent me, man.
yeah.
This like
But like the
it's like when you have a mother and father, and then all of a sudden the kid does something bad, and the woman's like, you have to talk to your son,
yeah,
like talk to your
yeah,
son.
exactly. I'm like, it's ours. I mean, what? When you were pushing that baby, like you were holding that, like, come on now, it's our child. That's actually true.
That's funny. That's funny. But so to flip the question, when's the time that you felt the most like a man?
Honestly, again, I'm not trying to sound that like this is something that you do perfectly, but personally, it's when I'm able to look at everyone in the eyes with no shame or guilt.
Mm,
So, and that include family, that include friends, that include the personal, my students, my clients, business, whoever it is. When you're in a position where you can basically stand tall with no shame, no guilt, no regrets about things, and you feel forgiven, you feel like you're moving ahead. That's when, to me, it's like it doesn't have to be, it's in a financial status. It's just, to me,
yeah,
it's a mindset where you are doing what you have to do, and you're at peace with the outcome, whether it's good or bad. But you're doing what you have to do, whether it works or not. You keep on pushing, and then, but regardless of the outcome, when you get into your work, into your purpose, to me, that's when it is. I feel like, I'm functioning, I'm doing godly work, I'm serving humanity, I'm here for my family, I'm provide like all these kind of things. And then I can look at everyone and say that, what, if you come to me, there's no guilt, no shame, no regret, no intimidation.
mm,
And then you just like, okay, that's when, to me, it's just like the strongest feeling I have, when it feels like I am a man.
true, true. That's a really good one actually. I've always said that to myself, like, because coming up, I was doing all sorts of things. I was addicted to drugs. I was wilding out. I was
Mm,
in the streets. I was doing all sorts of stuff, and I would always think I want a life like you're living a good life when you can tell somebody everything that you do with pride.
mm. Yeah,
With
yeah, yeah.
pride, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to hide this and hide that. You can just say everything that it is that you do, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely it for me. Um, because I mean, us men, man, like it's almost like in mostly now in society, it's just like everything is against us. We can't do any right
Mm,
most of the time.
mm.
To even if it's at the home, and that's why I'm like, when people need to choose their wives like carefully, because yeah, if you don't have peace at home,
Oh
that
my gosh.
you're screwed, because you won't have it anywhere out there. Like there's nowhere you're gonna have it
Man,
beside your house.
that's a
You know?
huge thing. My buddy,
Oh my gosh.
I think the person who I saw your profile from was my friend Paul Newton, I
Paul
think.
Newton, yeah, it might be. Yeah, I think
Nigerian
we are
guy.
connected. I think we are connected. Yes, yes, Paul
Yeah.
Newton.
And
Yeah.
he was just talking, we were just at like a church barbecue, and I was telling him about my wife and everything, and he's like, I'm so glad that you married well. He's like, you
Yeah.
have no idea how important it is to marry well. He's like, I'm so glad that you chose the right person.
He book of Proverbs. The book is it the proverb? He who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Mm,
The Bible said it, man. And to me, it's such like, imagine, like, bro, imagine this, okay? You go out there, you're grinding, trying to get your clients. Some of them are appreciative. You're fighting to get your money. You're
mhm,
fighting to get your thing. When you
mhm,
have your children, you have, like, things to deal with. Protect them from bullies. Teach them how to protect themselves, and blah blah blah. All these kind of things. You go here, you got cut out of your work. You got cut off, and then you have to try to hustle to find another work, because, like, if you don't do that, they're gonna take the house. They're gonna take this, your phone bill, blah 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 blah. All these kind of things. And then you go home too, and what you find? Ah, you suck it. Like, dude. No wonder the suicide level is like so high amongst men. Like no one. I mean, again, I'm not saying that women don't commit that. I'm not saying that at
Hmm.
all. But I'm
Hmm.
just saying the level of pressure. It's not a joke at all.
Yeah, man.
And then, so, as I said to anybody, I'm not promoting divorce, but if you don't have peace at home, you are you are actually like you know working towards an early grave, because at the end of the day,
Hmm.
like, you will have no you will be sleeping and not resting, you will be eating and not fueling your body, like it's just
Hmm.
everything, nothing will work right for you.
True.
And that's why I
True.
mean, like, God bless you, brother. Like, you find what you need, you find what you deserve, pretty much, and what God has for you, and, like, nourish that, nurture that, and, like, hold on tight to it, man. Because some sorcerers out there, there's vampires, man. Like,
Yeah, man.
it's insane.
Yeah, man. They call them succubuses. You know,
So
that's what they call, man. It's yeah,
exactly, man.
they'll take your essence.
Exactly.
But the next question, what was your relationship like with your father?
Um, Very good question. Um, that's a complicated one because it started well. When it comes to us, it was a hard one in a sense, like, of what I've witnessed, but there's a good and a bad, but it's a whole story. I can break it down for you. But
I hear you.
he is someone who was not a provider, terrible husband,
Mm,
terrible. And but as a man, but one thing, he was always a protector. Like,
mm,
this man will never let anything happen to me or my brother or my sister whenever he's around. Like, forget it. Like, if
mm,
you try to hurt us, like, just forget it.
mm,
But he was not providing. He's just doing his thing, wilding, has children, womanizer and whatnot, all these kind of things. My mom was suffering. So as a kid, when I was a young kid, it was really something that I was always driven to him, because he's a loving person towards us.
mm.
A very kind person. Like, he's very kind, but just when it comes to the husbandhood, he's just like not his thing at all.
Hey,
So
can you move the microphone? You got it a little bit under your beard. It's just
yeah, yeah,
scratching.
I'm good here. Is it better now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just needs to be like above
Okay.
the beard. It's just scratching a bit.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So, um, what I will when I started growing up, now there was a one incident, a domestic violence incident that I witnessed towards mom, and then because of that, I was around 10 years old, and because of that, I made a promise that if that ever happened again, I will kill him,
Mm,
literally.
mm.
So what I did at like 11, 10, 11 year old, oh man, God, man, God, I'm telling you, the way He changes things. I bought a machete,
Oh, you're
and I
Haitian for
start.
real. Hey, you're a real
Oh,
Haitian.
dude, I was in Haiti. I was in Haiti, so yeah.
Oh my God.
So I bought one at, like, again, at this age, because at one point I realized how my mother was like providing. She was doing everything, and then I'm like,
Mm,
if I lose her, I lose everything. So I'm like, I gotta protect her. If nobody was protecting her, again, as a young kid, with this mindset is not normal. So I bought a machete, got it sharpened like for months at times, and then I keep it under my mother's bed. That's where I kept it. And I'm like, this man ever touch my mother again, I'm gonna cut him open. Like, again, I don't want to be graphic or whatever, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just that was the reality.
of course.
And one day, um, he came in and he just like fighting and like just like screaming at her, calling her names, and I'm just watching, and I'm just like literally watching. And my mom is not someone to back up, and she's just like fighting, and she's fighting, she's answering back, and at one point is being more aggressive and walking towards her. And I remember that day they were standing right beside the bed, and my mom is just like right back at him too. And after that, he's coming forward again, and I push my mother away. My mother fell on the bed, and then I go in front of him. So my little, my little stupid criminal mind, I'm like, you know what? If I do something to him now, they can put me to jail. But if he hit me first, and I do something to him, I can claim self-defense. I'm like, oh, anyway, stupidest thing ever. But
Wow.
and I went and I literally, bro, I literally told this man things I wouldn't say to my worst enemy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So because he had a temper, so I was like trying to provoke him to get a reaction, so I could lift up the bed, grab my machete, and do whatever I thought I was gonna do at that time. So um, I'm just screaming at him and saying things like as a kid, I mean, you know us, we don't swear, we don't cuss in front of our parents, like our Caribbean, like our black parents or whatnot. Like we don't do that. Like they never hear us. Like that's a no go zone. So my mother was looking at me like just losing it on him, and then he looks at me and tears start running down his eyes, and he just walk out, and I'm like, wow. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to kill you here, buddy. Give me something. And I
Wow.
was, and I'm like, and I'm following him, and I'm just like pointing my fingers and blah 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 blah. He got into his car. My mom had a little gallon of I think it has gasoline or the gas we put in these old lamps and stuff. I think it was one
Okay.
of these things. And I grabbed this bottle, threw into his car, and I'm like, I'm gonna burn you alive, like in our language and whatnot. And I'm like,
Mm,
I'm looking for a match to burn the car down. And my mom is like, whoa, this man is just losing it, this young kid. And
mm-hmm.
my mother grabbed me, and my mother said something to me, and she's like, Mike, you don't speak to your dad like this. I'm like, huh? I'm like, what? And she said, "You don't speak to your father like that." I'm like, and after I start turning at her, turning towards her, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe you deserve him talking to you like that, you know. And she's like, "Say that again, and I'm gonna slap you." And, and you know, when Mama speaks, you're like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, later on, she again, I'll tell you that part after. But so from that time, me and him, the man was, I just didn't like him at all. Like him. I didn't like him at all. When I moved to Canada in 2002, I just remember like a man I'm not gonna see for years, or I didn't know how long I was gonna come back for visit and whatnot. But I just like wave at him like, yeah, how fun? Like, good, thanks, bye. Like it just like was really, I
Mm,
wouldn't say toxic, but he just hateful. And if I have to be honest, I couldn't stand him. And I was always trying to protect mom. And so that being said, my mother said to me something that, you know what, before you judge everybody for who they are and what they do, you understand their history, how they grew up. You know, the way he is, no matter how bad it is, no matter how much I suffered, there's a reason why he is the way he is. You need to look into, forgiving your father. I never listened. And then and she told me, like, when I was a kid, like she was talking, going back to that moment where the whole incident about the machete and whatnot. And she told me that, like, that time I realized that you were seeing so much, you have so much anger built inside of you. I need to tame it, otherwise I'm gonna lose you, because you're gonna, and you have someone like, you have our blood, so you have a temper, you have, like, you're a fighter, like, you need to tame yourself. And then that's why she said, like, she didn't want me to go crazy, more crazier than I was going at that time. I'm like, yeah, I understand. So my mom passed away in 2010, during the earthquake. But during that time, me and dad we're talking here and there. But after she passed away, I got angry at him because of a couple of things that happened. But once I got saved in 2011, got baptized, and then start really getting my relationship to God to the next level, to the point where I'm studying my Bible, I'm doing what I have to do. But at that time, I understand what fatherhood means, and I became a father in 2009. So all these kind of things, but like I said, I wouldn't do what he did, and all these kind of things. But at the end of the day, he is still my father. So we had, at one point, I had to call him through prayer when I felt like I was ready. I called him, had a beautiful conversation with the man, like you really amazing, where you can see like how he's living in regrets and all these kind of things. And I have to tell him, like, you don't need to live this way. And as long as we are alive, you're gonna have me as a supporter, as someone who loves. I have one son who loves you, and he really was happy to hear that, because I think that relationship, because he I was so cool with him when I was a very young child, 6, 7 years old. Like I have memories of me going places, him bringing me to carnival, all these kind of places and all things. And it was a beautiful relationship at first, but when you start growing up and seeing certain things, it switches. So, um, so it became a place where we were talking constantly. Like every week we talk. It was a beautiful thing until he passed away in 2020 due to a stroke. But like at the end of the day, I was really at peace, at least that there was forgiveness. Um, there was forgiveness. There was understanding and communication, and it put me at ease to know that happened. So the relationship was really, at one point it was non-existent. At one point it was toxic. At one point it was a lot of anger, but it did switch. And that again is because after I got baptized and starting to understand living like Christ, what it means truly means, not the way like some people describe it, but what it truly means according to the scriptures. It is something that's very liberating when you forgive and then try to actually find a common ground with the people you disagree with, and that what helped me to
Man,
yeah.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, like obviously it had its turmoil, but the fact that it
Yeah,
ended in such a way is perfect. That's
absolutely, man.
yeah, man. You can't ask for more than that. I mean, it's harder for people who
Yeah.
still have their dads around, but like my dad passed in 2016, I believe,
Mm.
and
Sorry to hear that.
it's all right, it's all right. But just the
How
fact
was your
that so how's my relationship with him? Um,
Yes.
I was gonna say, like mine was kind of the same thing. I was too young, but my brothers kind of witnessed what you witnessed with
Mm.
him, and we have
Yeah.
different dads, right? So
Okay.
within them, that brought about that same type of hatred, that same type of anger,
Yeah.
and then yeah, he just wasn't a provider. He wasn't around. Alcohol all the time, just constantly running around. He was gone by the time I was two, and
Mm.
just running around. Then he disappeared around the time I was eight, and nobody knew where he was. None of my siblings, nothing. Um, so yeah, like it was hard. And then we reconnected when I was about 21, 22, and we saw
Wow.
we saw each other a handful of times. It was all right, like but like he was never able to just step up as that
Mm.
real provider, that real father. But
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, so like that's why I say it's beautiful how the way it ended for you, because to be able to open up and everything, that's something that I never got to do. I never got to have the conversation of forgiveness and everything's all right. Like, we saw
Yeah.
each other, I was nice to him, he was nice to me. I told him I loved him and everything, but I never actually had that actual dialogue to kind of closure things.
You know
So,
what, bro? Like, and I commend you for that. Even not having this conversation, you still told him you love him. That's a major. That's a sign of forgiveness too. That's a
true.
sign that you're at peace with where things are, right?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
though you might have questions, but you're still at peace. You still find a level of peace, and that's also great, right? A lot of people don't even have that. There are a lot of people. Me personally, I'm telling you right now, if it was me, if I didn't have that conversation with him, I probably wouldn't be talking to him about how much I love him or things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
don't think
sure.
I don't think I would. But that being said, what you did was tremendously amazing, man. Because it takes us a lot to be able to come to that, to for a man to tell his father again, a black man to tell his father that he, after certain things that happen to them, that they have love for them. Like it is hard. It takes a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
It
man.
takes a lot.
It was a lot, and but we
Hmm.
reconnected and talked a couple times, but he still wasn't able to, step into that role or anything like that. But it was good to re-meet him. I always say it was the greatest gift I got because he was still an alcoholic. He was
Mm.
still like not able to step up in that way. But at the time, I was really addicted to weed. I was really addicted to weed and the lifestyle around weed and just doing a lot of the
Yeah.
wrong things. And when I reconnected with him, it was kind of a window into what I could become. So
Mm.
it was actually the greatest gift because that made me want to change myself dramatically.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
he was a
And
big proponent in that.
was it easy for you to live, to get out of the lifestyle?
Man, no, I mean, slowly I had to get out of the streets first, but then like actually quitting, like staying away from drugs, that was hard. It was always hard, and I always wanted to quit because
Mm.
I started when I was like 13, and
Oof, yeah.
I knew by the time I was 17 that this was not something that I wanted to be doing, and I tried multiple times to stop, and I couldn't. And I always tell the story. I'll even probably get choked up telling it, but I had a client, and I had to go see a client, and I was like, I'm just not gonna get high today. And within 2 hours, I was high, and I'm just like in
Mm.
tears in my car. I decided to just like make an excuse and not see the client, and I came back home, and I'm married and everything, so I had to give my wife my my debit cards, my credit cards, and just explain to her that I couldn't do it. And yeah, I just had to turn. That's when I turned to God. And
Wow.
instead of meditating like I do every day, I
Hmm.
started praying to God, and I just asked for help because I was like, I can't do this,
Nice.
and then all of a sudden, day after day, for the first time ever, it got easier and easier and easier, and then it was it was like you'd have your slip ups here and there,
Yeah,
but for the first time I was able to go days and then weeks, and now it's been months, and it's like I can't even remember the last time that it happened. So it's like it's it's
that's amazing.
it's been like such a blessing. Like now it's like just it's like it fell away from my spirit. It was weird. But that, yeah, it was just in going into prayer to God, and then like I told you, it's like a few months in, like I met my friend Joel, the spiritual coach,
Yeah.
and then like a couple weeks later, I'm in the men's group, and then a couple weeks after that, I'm in church, and I've been going every week ever
Mm.
since, and yeah, praying every day. It's been amazing.
That's amazing, brother. That's really powerful, man. So why, how did you get into like, is your wife a believer? Like, were your parents always believers? Like, what made you go
No.
towards
I mean,
God?
my dad kind of organized me getting baptized when I was a baby. So I guess he
Oh,
had
Catholic, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So my mom has Christian roots,
Hmm.
but she was never into it. She was never into anything. We celebrate Christmas, but that was about it. Never go to church or
Okay.
anything. Yeah, like, and my wife had never been into a church. Like me bringing her to
Mm.
church like a month ago or a month and a half ago, that was her first time ever being in a church, period. You know,
How long you've been married?
we got married in January, so we're almost at a year. We're at
Nice,
like 7, 8 months. So
okay.
yeah, it was wild. When we first met, we were laughing about people who believed in God and were spiritual and stuff. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, I'm in church every week, and she's reading books that are like God based, and she's sending me little scripture things about God, and we're talking about it. And now she comes to church whenever she can. It's crazy, crazy the change that happened.
That's good. So you want to hear something funny?
What?
Um, so you see, like you used to laugh at some people like in church and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
So I remember when I grew up Catholic, so Catholic is very proper,
Very.
and and to me it was always funny when I see some preacher just going crazy on stage and whatnot. I just like. So one day, um, I wasn't doing too well, so I was looking for everything. So to me, stand-up comedy is a very big thing for me. That's a very like powerful thing that helps me, stay sane. I love comedy.
Me too.
So I I remember one day I'm on YouTube, and that's when YouTube first started. And I'm like, I'm looking for preachers to make fun of. Like I was literally like, I'm like, I want to see some preachers to make fun of, like talking about like being more too extra. That's what I was looking for, and I started watching a couple of videos online, and I'm like laughing, and like I'm like, man, why is this? God doesn't work this way. Like, stop it. Like, I'm just judging everything, right? And I will never understand that. But at that same time, I remember there's a as a video of TD Jakes called. How to Fight the Devil. I will never forget that. I think they changed the thumbnail now, but back then the thumbnail it was his face just like open his mouth and the microphone is sweating. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good, man. And then I click on it and I was like, huh. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay. I'm not here for this. And I to switch it. And I'm like, no, I have to go back to this guy. That's so good. And I went back. Second message, third message, fourth message. Now this guy wanted to laugh at the preachers, like absorbing everything this man is saying. And then I remember I went to pray God. I'm like, I want to go to a church where the pastor can vehicle your words to me, the same way that this bishop is doing it for me online.
Mm.
And then there's an ex girlfriend I had contacted me, says like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm listening to that guy online. And she's like, "Oh, there's a church a friend invited me. The pastor is just like that." I'm like, "Can we go?" And we went. It was in 2011, summer 2011, and that pastor baptized me, and I'm still rolling with him until today. It's not Mike, another the pastor that baptized me, Pastor Mike
Yeah.
Ewan. Is like I'm still rolling with him until today, like
Wow.
11 years later. He's still my guy. I was talking to him yesterday.
Man, that's amazing.
So yeah, that's how I got saved actually.
Wow.
It was like it's crazy.
Comedy saved you.
Pretty much. Pretty
That's
much, man.
that's
Pretty much.
funny. That's really funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you mean with TD Jake. He's always sweating. I showed my
Oh yeah.
video of TD Jake and I'm like, look at his shirt. And she's like, what? And she didn't even realize his shirt was so wet that she just thought that was the color of his shirt. I'm like, no, no, that's not the color of his
That's
shirt.
sweat. That is sweat. That is sweat.
She's like, I thought it was just a shirt style. I'm like, no, he's just
Nah,
sweating
no.
that much.
No, there's no style like this. We don't wear that stuff for style.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
He's great. But so back to the questions. What's your
Yes, sir.
outlook? What's your outlook on vulnerability? How do you feel about it?
Um, it's good in a safe environment.
Mm,
So I know I don't mind being vulnerable with people I trust,
true.
but I'm not gonna be vulnerable openly. It feels like attention seeking because you don't know who's here to help you or not, and you
Mm,
don't know how people are gonna react to it. And some people will laugh at your downfall, some people will support you to help you go back up, but you don't know. To
mm,
me, to be vulnerable, I have to feel I'm in a safe place.
true. True.
Yeah,
That is true.
definitely a safe place. Yeah, because people can use your vulnerability against you. People can use your vulnerability to hurt you,
Mm.
to shame you, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if it's in a safe environment, it is very, very important because like you need accountability, and you won't find accountability if you're not vulnerable because you protect yourself too much that you're gonna start protecting your wrongdoings, and that's not good.
Mm, true.
Or protect your wrongdoings, your hurt, like you're gonna protect everything.
Yeah,
And what does that do? That just like make you whatever you keep on doing, you'll get good at, and you're gonna
yeah.
keep on good at hiding, good at dealing with things on your own, good at pretending to be right, and then you just like stress. You bring a level of stress in you that's not supposed to be on any human's brain. And to me, it's very important, but it has to be in a safe environment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Around
Yeah.
people you trust, you love, that love you,
Mhm.
trust you, most
I love
importantly.
you, trust you. Exactly.
True. So when was the time that you felt the most vulnerable, and how did you deal with it?
Um, it's when actually two times some wrong things I did were exposed,
Mm,
and also another time where I felt like I had to open up again, but I did it in a safe environment.
mm,
It felt liberating at that time. The first time felt a bit shameful, but the same group of people I was around, They were really genuinely trying to help me, and I was grateful for that.
True.
So it's to me, I was great. I'm grateful for the fact that it was something that the first time again, I was something I did was it came up in the open, and then I was dealing with the guilt, the shame, but there were a couple of people, try to use that against you. But I was being helped by people who teach me not to listen to these voices, but to listen to them because they have my best interest.
Yeah.
So that was a great thing. But the second time I opened up myself about certain insecurities or certain things I had that were, I feel like, I was really down on myself. And then I got vulnerable about a lot of things. But that with that person, it was really safe. And then, like, put hands on in the pot and let's work together kind of thing. So it felt good. So I'm grateful about that because not many people have that opportunity to be in such environment, and I'm very happy it happened this way.
True. True.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So basically, at your most vulnerable, you just found a proper support system and made sure to stay
Yes.
close with them.
Absolutely, 100%.
True. True.
A
Yeah,
hundred
that's
percent.
that's a very important thing that we forget a lot of the times as guys, like the proper support system, you know? Maybe you don't want to reach
Hmm.
out for support. Maybe you feel like people are gonna downplay what you're going through, but support system is like everything,
Oh,
man.
it happened. It happened when it was downplayed. Like
Mm,
again, when we get to know each other a lot, like we're gonna talk about more in depth about these things. But
yeah, yeah.
it happens where a lot of things that you say is downplayed, and you're like, man, this is serious for me. Like, what's going on here? Yeah, it can be really hard, and I was like really angry at that time about that. But
Mm.
things have changed. I stood my ground, and yeah, yeah, you have to be in a safe environment.
Yeah, I've gone through that too, and it's not is in and it's something that can make you angry, and like in my case, it made me feel devalued. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like that was a big
yes, it
feeling
does
that I
too.
had. I felt like I was being devalued. Like you don't see me as something
Absolutely.
important enough to be here
No,
for me, you know? That kind of thing.
yeah. Or you don't feel like what I brought to your attention is serious enough in my mind that
Mm,
you think you can downplay it as you'll be like, no, it's just wrong.
yeah.
It's really wrong.
Yeah, I've felt that before. That's why in terms of like my wife, like I'm glad that I have somebody like that. I've never had somebody around
Hmm.
so nurturing, so caring and everything like that. So,
Hey
yeah.
man, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. God bless, brother. Like that's a real blessing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That is a real blessing.
So, what's something that you wish you did earlier or like a habit you wish you started earlier as a man?
Um, if there's something I could say, I wish I started earlier was traveling.
Mm,
The reason I know it's something like it sounds like a luxurious thing and whatnot. Me, I'm not even looking at it at a luxurious standpoint, but it's
mhm,
mostly with the connection of people because like there's so many different people and so many different things out there that
true,
if you're not exposed to them, you won't know them, and I think they can really help you grow.
true, true.
And that's one thing. Like to me, I find that the more you're exposed to, the better you can serve humanity in a worldwide scale, right? Like it's to me like I have it, like you can tell I have big visions. I don't have a vision for Canada or Haiti. I have a worldwide vision. Like
Mm,
I'm serving a great God, so I have to have great visions.
mm,
And to me, it's like it's very important that traveling is very important. Yeah, it can be luxurious, it can be for fun, but to me, it's just like all the other things that people don't talk about. Being connected with a certain part of humanity that you don't know, and how you can help them too, how they can help you
mm,
get closer to God, get more effective in your purpose and whatnot. Because TDJX was talking about that. He had a book he was writing at that time. He never left where he lived or never left the states. He said, um, I think it's called the gray area. Yeah, it's something like that. Anyway, he was talking about how he finished the book, and then he just finished it. It takes months and months to write the book, and then he finished the book, and it's like, okay, you know what? I've been working on this book for so long. Let me take a vacation, and I think he went to Africa, and he said he went to that vacation to take some time off, vacation before he launched the book,
Yeah.
and he's like, man, his mindset changed about everything he wrote to the point where he came back and he just like rewrite the whole book completely because it's like the reality he had. Yeah, he's gonna send a book to the world with the conception of America only or his little neighborhood. No,
Mm.
so many, not many people will have connected with that. And he's like, I'm like, wow, that's so true. So when he was exposed to certain different things, he just like put it out there, man.
True. True. Yeah,
To me,
that
traveling is very big.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I mean, I haven't traveled too many places. I've only really been to Barbados, the US,
Mm,
and Cuba, and
nice.
and that's
Eh,
pretty much it so far. But I remember
brother,
just
let's
what? Go ahead.
get your passport on point and keep going, man, with the wife before the kids come, man. Like, oh, even during the kids too, but like it's just like, man, Thailand, all this, but just go and see. Like to me, it's just
Yeah,
like
true.
we have to be living, not simply existing, right? Like I'm very big on that.
Yeah, my father-in-law kind of mentioned that too. He was like, we didn't have kids. He's like, we were married for 10 years before we had kids. He's like, and we were traveling everywhere, everywhere. They would go somewhere just
Nice.
for a weekend, just here, there, everywhere, you know? Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I remember like just going to Cuba alone. Like the last time we went there, I went with my wife and we were on a bus. We were heading towards the resort. And I remember they just got hit with a storm and we seen these guys and it was like the side of the road, but they were fishing. Like it wasn't even really like a pond they were at. It was just like the water built up so much, right? That they were fishing. And I remember looking at that and being like, yo, they probably need that. They probably see that as like, yo, we just hit the jack. We don't have to walk all the way to the water. There's probably fish in here. And thinking like, yo, those guys probably need that. It like kind of changed the way I look at things. I'm like, yo, we have it really good. Like I'm usually down on myself about, how things are and where I should be and stuff. And I always think of that
Yeah,
little image of these guys just
that
fishing at
little
the side of the
experience.
road, man.
Yeah, that little exposure you had, and it just shift your mindset, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
So
man.
I'll tell you one thing. I've been here since 2003, 2002, from Haiti, and I remember uh, I've been here like as a permanent resident. Like I just took it for granted. I'm just doing my thing and whatnot. And then when was it? 2019. I decided I'm like, man, maybe I should just do my citizenship. And I did finally applied for it to do it. And then yeah, it was pretty fast comparing to other people because of I think they say I've been here like literally for pretty much 18 years. Like they're just like, okay, let's just process this quick. So when I went to take the oath, um, I will never forget this, man. There's this lady just like jumping around when they call her name with her kids, and then just like jumping and hug the judge, and I'm like, yo, a bit
Wow.
extra much, and I'm like, but again, I'm like, wow, okay, but I had a quick word with her, not that much, not that long, but like again, she came from a war zone, bro. Like she almost passed away and almost died or something, and then like she got saved and then came to here, and then she's so grateful that she's alive. That to her that's the greatest thing that could ever happen to her. I'm like, you name it, you see things you've been taking for granted. Look at someone's jumping onto an opportunity just because of things that could have happened and God saved them from some damage or catastrophe or whatever. And I'm like, yo, and from that actually changed my perspective on a lot of things too.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. I remember like just jumping around, like hugging everybody. I'm like, yo, she's bringing a party out here. Like an older lady from Africa somewhere. Had like about three kids with her, and they all got their credits. I mean, it was it was amazing. But you don't understand this happiness until you've been where she's been, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
True.
I
True.
don't take things for granted. Two things I don't take for granted: my salvation, and my freedom.
Mm,
I have to do something about that.
mm,
My salvation and my freedom are two things that, I mean, gosh, man, when you're talking, if you want to go deep into spirituality, like this sacrifice that we don't deserve that Christ did for us, it's not something that we should ever, ever take for granted.
yeah.
Tomorrow is not promised. You have a mission. Do your work on this planet. So don't wake up and procrastinate. Actually, the Bible even says, like, if you know you have to do something, you don't do it. It's a sin. So it's pretty much like, procrastinating or like being lazy is a sin, pretty much. So
Wow.
it's kind of like, you know what? You have to keep on moving. You have to get your things done. Yeah, there are times that to be down and up, but at the end of the day, the mission has to be accomplished.
True. True. That's well
Yeah, bro.
said. I didn't even think of that. I gotta. If you remember that part of the, if you remember that scripture, definitely send it my way. I gotta read that because I procrastinate sometimes. Even right when you said that, if you know you should do something and you haven't, right
Yeah.
away, what pops into my mind is working with kids. Right away, it's like something I
Mm.
know I should be doing. I know I could do it. I know I could do it well, and it's something that I have been procrastinating on. There's a lot of fear there because I don't want to be the same disappointment my dad was. So there's a lot of fear
Eh,
towards it, you know?
you know what, bro? By the again, it's not you driving the wheel right now. It's the
Mm,
God in you. And I'm not saying that because of, I'm trying to be overly religious, but I see where you're at. Oh, I kind of see where you're at. And you know what? To me, you have so much to offer from your days in the streets, from your struggle with some addiction and whatnot to where you are now. That will speak volume to so many kids, so many young men, so many women, like to people.
mm,
So if it's something that needs to happen, pray to get the right platform, the right people around you to help you bring this to life. And then you know what, man, bring it on.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it's part of the mission, it has to be accomplished.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you. True.
I got you.
True.
I got you, bro. I'm this type of guy. Like I want people to go get what they want. And I'm very sensitive in a sense to the point. Like there are times that things are not gonna flow the way we want to, but there's a good God we serve who always come through, and we just have to trust the process.
True. True.
Yeah,
True. So,
yeah, man.
so in terms of manhood, and thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's serious. Um, what's one misconception that you had about being a man while you were growing up?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? We have to internalize our feeling. Men don't complain. Don't men don't talk.
Mm,
Men don't cry.
mm,
All of the above. A man, unfortunately, a man who can have plenty of women is fine.
mm,
Um, a man has to be always, on the go. Like a man has to be always rough or tough. Like, ugh,
yeah.
there's so many misconceptions to me. And again, I'm going back because me, that's the greatest example I have is Christ, is our Christ. When you have a sinless man taking affliction for things he's never done, died for it, defeated death for it, because of the love he has for all of us. He had no business taking anything that I have done, that you've done, or our ancestors, that Adolf Hitler has done, like all these people, all
Mm,
these crimes,
mm,
genocides happened, all these kind of things that happen around the world,
mm,
rapes and molestation, all these kind of things. He took them all upon himself. Because of what? Because he loves us. That's a sign of strength. To me, it's not weakness, and that's a sign of humility. And there's no greater strength than humility. There's no greater power to me than humility and kindness. So I try to approach my life where I need to be wise and quiet when I have to be. I need to be strong when I have to be. And if I'm weak, I need to look for strength to expose my weakness so my brothers and my sisters can help me get back to my strength. Like, to me, this not a one thing. I'm not a one man island. Like, I'm not, no. This whole concept about manhood that you can do it all, like you should be able to do it all, like you this, you no. This is such a horse crap. Like that, it destroys a lot of connection that fathers could have had with their children, and they never did, and with their wives too.
Yeah.
The husbands could have had with their wives. So, oh, there are plenty. Yeah. What
Yeah.
about you? What have you like in that area? What
Misconceptions,
misconception? Yeah.
definitely the guys having a lot of women. That was definitely a thing where I always
Oh yeah.
felt forced or felt short on.
Mhm.
Because I was very introverted and I really didn't care to talk to too many girls. Like growing up, like from the time I was 13 to the time I was 20 or 21, I only slept with two girls. I wasn't
Oh
like the guy getting out and doing all that. I was
yeah.
around the guys and everything, but I didn't feel like doing that all that much. I was a relationship guy. I was always,
Yeah.
I'm with somebody, I'm gonna stay with them, I'm not cheating on them. I was always like
Mm,
that, and I always felt like a little soft because of that.
mm,
Um, and then I compensated with it in other ways, being in the streets, getting violent,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
showing people what's up and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And another misconception, I think, was the feelings. Up until I was like 22, 23, and I started getting into meditation and I started getting into a lot of different podcasts and hearing different people's perspectives and stuff. I always felt like, because I was really sensitive growing up, I was a really sensitive kid. And
Mhm.
I always felt like that was a bad thing. That was something that I had to remove from myself. Um, and then when I got older, I realized that it's actually a great asset, to be able
It is
to be in touch with your feelings is something,
with your feelings. Yeah.
yeah, it's something that a lot of people don't do and can't do because they have so many walls built up. And even though I went through so much abandonment growing up and violence towards me and everything, I was still able to just always be sensitive and be generally open with it. But yeah,
Nice.
around 23, 24, I was like, I started realizing that it's a great asset to have. I started realizing that, and that was it.
Absolutely. Um, did you grow up in Toronto?
I was born in Toronto and I grew up just outside of Toronto in Thornhill. So Toronto was like
Thornhill.
just like a kilometer away. So basically, anytime you're doing bad stuff, we would do it in Toronto. We were running around doing bad stuff in Toronto, basically. Um, yeah, so we grew up in different places in Toronto, just running around, and it was pretty it
Mm.
wasn't all bad, but like yeah, we were into a lot of bad stuff growing up, doing what guys do,
Yeah.
getting together,
Yeah.
all the
Absolutely,
boys,
man.
and just running around. Yeah.
Aren't you like? Cause me, I was at one point when I first came here. I was really getting into the wrong crowd, and me, yeah, women and fighting was my thing always. Like
Mm,
just like violence and women. Like that was my thing. And
yeah.
then one thing that changed my perspective was a friend of mine went to jail and a couple of them died. And
Mm,
I'm like, man. And after that, too, I started to switch my mentorship, like from the guys from the streets to people who are actually doing certain things. I feel like that was right. Married, working hard, and that all these kind of things. And then I don't know. So how did it switch for you? Like, how did the mindset of the street switch
the mindset of the
for you?
streets, honestly, it was like growing up, like, because my oldest brother, he's 12 years older than me, right? So
Yeah.
he did all the things before me, all the good things, because he was like straight and narrow. He wasn't a bad guy at all. He did all the thing, went to college, he graduated, job, married one woman, stayed with her. And
Hmm.
as I was like in the streets and reconnected with my dad and everything, my dad, he was an old dude. He was very, very old. He had me when he was very old. And as old people do, they'll tell you stories over and over again. So he would always tell me about how bad drug dealers were, and how you don't want to be like
Hmm.
that. He'd be like, "You're not somebody
Yeah.
like that." He would always say that because even though he wasn't there for me and he couldn't step up as a father, when he did reconnect with me, he was the first person to be like, "I'm so proud of you." Like he was the first person to ever be like, "Yo,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of what you do," because he knew I was trying to quit
Wow.
smoking. He knew that I had a job that was steady. He was like, "Wow." He's like, "You're doing all the things." He's like, "I'm so proud." And I started realizing as he got cancer, I was like, I don't want to be this kind of person, because I always, I wasn't a believer, but I believed in the afterlife. And I was like, if he's up there and he looks down and he sees me as this person and I was living a lie in front of him the whole time, that's going to really hurt my heart. So I knew from there I had to switch. And then when I looked around, you're talking about examples, I looked at my brother. This guy was married, kids. He foregoed
That's
a
good.
job. He foregoed a job with the police department because he was like, the hours are too much. And I always want to be with my kids and I want to watch them grow up. Like, he's the opposite of the typical, what the media posts a black father to be. He's the complete
Yeah,
opposite. Always with his
that's
kids,
amazing.
always there for his kids. So I was like, that was my main example. He was right under my nose the whole time. I was like, I can just be like Jason. So
That's
I
amazing, man.
started working towards that and started working towards being more like him, finding a
Mm-hmm.
wife, finding proper jobs and making sure that no matter what I went into, I remember this was for his words too. He's like, whatever you get into, he's like, make sure you're happy. He's like, make sure you're happy doing whatever it is. He's like, make sure. He's like, because you can end up not happy and having to work that job until your 60s. Like, so make sure you're happy. And and
Mm-hmm.
I took his example and his words and I kind of just acted on that, you know?
That's dope, man. That's really awesome, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
oh man, and I was always craving for a good mentorship, like from my home, like a big brother or uncle or something. But it came from other people I've met here, a couple of pastors, a couple of like young businessmen that who I met, and then they were really guiding me. And that has helped me. I'm grateful for that, though.
That's
Man, that's
good, man.
good.
Yeah, man. Like I said, like it was just the whole time I wasn't watching him because when you're growing up and you're in the streets, you're looking at people who are straight and narrow, like that guy's soft and that's whack and only one
Hmm.
woman, bro. What's this guy doing? And all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
But that's how
I
you
know
build
the
a
drill.
happy life. That's how you build a consistent happy life. And now
Absolutely,
and
man.
now seeing how he's there for his kids, he'll coach hockey team and this and that, and he's such a present
Mm.
father. And even now, as I become, I'm gonna be a father, God willing, within a year, 2 years or whatever. It's like that's my example because I didn't have my dad around, but he's like the shining example of like what I could be, what I could do.
Nice. And you don't have the same father as him, right?
No, no, we have different dads. He had a good dad. His dad wasn't around because my mom divorced him or whatever. But
Yeah.
he was also a good example of a father growing up to me. Like my dad
Okay.
wasn't around at all, but I would see him come by and try to see his sons and try to communicate with them.
Mm.
So he was always
That's good.
he
That's
was a
good.
he was always a shining example of like not all dads disappear.
Yeah. So you saw the reality of both worlds, the ones who disappear and the ones who stay around, but like the one that disappeared was yours.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Yeah. Oh man, that's a testimony right there, bro.
Yeah, I've been hearing
That
that a
is.
lot from the church folk. They're like, "Yo, you're a testimony. You got to talk about this."
That's a testimony right there, bro. Like you don't know how many lives you're gonna impact with the kids you're gonna work with, and even your own children, God willing. Like it's gonna be, yeah, it's a powerful journey. Just grab it by the horn and just keep moving forward, bro.
Mm, I will. I definitely will. Definitely. Um, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah,
I got you.
fathers are a big thing to me, man. Big, really big
Yeah, me
thing.
too.
Big thing, man.
Me too, man. Me too. Me too.
So, what do you think the most important lesson you've learned about being a man is?
Being a man is to go against like all these things that they were teaching us that a man should be. That's pretty much it. So, a good provider, a good husband, father, um, that's consistent. Um, a man, again, I gotta say it, and a man who is under the authority of God, a servant of God, a man of God. That's like that should have been a requirement in life, like
Mm,
literally.
mm,
Um, to me, a good man is or the what a man should be is someone who's kind uh, and ready to step up when the time comes for him to step up in any area, whether
mm,
it's in his fatherhood or in his business, whatever the case is, and always be ready to be kind and loving to his family, provide support. Yeah, that's how I. That's that to me. That's what as simple as it is. But these are the requirement for me. It's not about the big luxurious car, like boasting about things. So these are nothing.
mm,
If you go home to your wife every night, that's a good man.
mm,
That's what a man should be. A man who goes to work, provide for his family. That's what it is.
mm. True, true. So the
Well,
last question, if there was if you could give some advice to some young men who are having trouble on their path to manhood, what would it be?
definitely get together with people who can guide with the proper mentorship. Like you need proper mentorship. That's one thing.
Mm,
Because you cannot go someplace that you don't know exists
true,
or that has not been exposed to you.
true, true.
So to me, mentorship is very good. And if you want a good path to mentorship, so sometimes you don't know what it looks like, even a good mentorship. You just, at the end of the day, you need to speak to somebody, speak to people, and then like the doors will open. Because at the end of the day, like as I mentioned earlier, you cannot go somewhere you don't know that exists or you're not exposed to because you don't know it's not your reality.
Mm,
And make them understand like as a man it's a big responsibility. There's a lot of pressure like we're doing in the beginning of the podcast. Like we said, there's a lot of pressure to be a man, but this is a pressure that can be tamed if you're in the right environment and the right setting
true.
that can be managed. So to me, yeah, that's the advice I could get them. Get a hold of a great mentorship and stick to it.
True, true.
What about you? What would you say to them?
Oh, to young men who are having trouble
Yeah.
on their path, I think the biggest thing, like especially if you're in a dark place, is that it's gonna get better, you know? Like it will get
Mm-hmm.
better as long as you press on and you focus on doing the right thing. Because in your heart and in your mind, everybody knows the right thing to do. Everybody knows the thing that they should be
Yes,
doing, you know? You press
absolutely.
on and you focus on that right thing and you start to do right and you just keep on pushing through, things will get better, man. It's like when
Yeah, it will get.
young guys break up with a girl, and I've been there. You break up with your first girlfriend and you're in tears because you think it's never gonna happen
Oh my
again.
gosh, yes.
You're never
Oh my
gonna
God,
find
yeah.
somebody again, and it's like it's not like that. It will happen again, and and life will
It
get
will.
better. You don't know how many times growing up I thought that it's gonna be like this forever. Things are gonna be dark like
Oh
this
yeah.
forever. I'm gonna be upset forever. And it's like if you just keep on pushing through and focus on improving yourself, not just living life on default, but improving yourself day after day. Little things, you can change your entire life. Your entire life,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
You just got to focus in and just it's not as hard as it sounds. You can make little changes, little changes. And also I would say to guys, don't be afraid to drop certain friends. Don't make your life
That's very big.
worse. Don't make your life worse based on loyalty. Don't do that. That's the worst thing, you know?
That's a,
Man, cuz yeah,
that's amazing, brother.
yeah, man,
That's
it's
amazing. So yeah, if you're going through a tunnel, there's a light at the end of it. Keep walking. Keep moving forward.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got to have faith and and even if you're not religious, find like mentorship, find something to look up to. Like I found
Yeah.
meditation and that led me to God. If you're not in the God, like meditate, do something, do some practice
Do
every
something.
day,
Yeah.
that improves you.
That can lead you to where you're going. Yeah. I
Exactly.
agree. I agree
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah,
That's
that's
amazing though.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
It's my pleasure, brother. It's always a pleasure. We gotta do this more often, man, because like people need to hear these conversations. And thank you for having me. And then all the great work I salute you for the great work you're doing, brother. Um, you will reach out to some people, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Man, thank you so much. And also, what's the clothing brand? What's it called? Flexi Swag?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
FlexiSwag, flexiswag.com. That's when people can find me on Instagram, FlexiSwag or MD Fit Life, which is my fitness mostly. It will be more consistent with the fitness stuff. But
MD Fit, right? MD Fit.
yeah, MD Fit Life. Yeah, that's for my
Okay.
fitness clothing. I'm sorry, fitness brand. And then the clothing line is FlexiSwag. We just got our women's collection for the leggings and tops and whatnot for sportswear. So that's been a very a big blessing also.
Beautiful, beautiful, man. Well, like again, thank you so much, and thank you for those kind words. I mean, yeah, it's just all about the conversations, man. I tell it all the time.
Absolutely.
I say it all the time to people, but like, when I was a kid and I was crying in the grocery store because I had to work night shift and I didn't know what my life was gonna be, man, podcasts changed my life.
Mm,
So that's why I make these conversations. So hopefully somebody hears it and they change a little bit of themselves or at least get through a day.
that this thing is gonna happen, whether we want it or not. These are the conversations that people thrive to listen to. So I believe it will.
Man, thank you again. Thank you so much, man. All right, I'm gonna stop recording and yeah, stay on for a second.
No problem, brother. Your camera stopped working too.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it just stopped.
Oh man, I can still see myself. I don't know. Either way, let me sign off. Later, guys. Peace.